Come on, England, you're not alone. We're all behind you, we're cheering from our homes. We're going all the way. We're going all the way.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Stand Your Ground. I'm your host, as always, Alex Bennison. I am joined by one half of the Mighty Whites podcast, Casey.
Now, pal, how are we doing?
I'm not too bad. My heart was in my mouth for about 45 minutes on Wednesday, trying to figure out who we were going to play.
Well,
me
and you normally play against the same group of lads every Wednesday, so it's not that hard to figure out.
Yeah, as always, before we do get into it, if you want to go check out the intro song that was supplied to us by Adam Crockett, go to YouTube and you can check it out as Come On England, or you can go to adamcrockett.hearenow.com. Make sure you go and show it some love.
Yeah,
so we might the best place to start is with England's game. Tuesday, 1-0 win over Czech Republic. It was a bit of a strange squad selection. I think a lot of people expected a few more players to be rested than what there was. But the major person that I think people didn't expect to see was Bukayo Saka, and he ended up being one of the best performers for us.
Yeah, obviously there was a lot of call for Jadon Sancho to come into the team, because I think, especially from the Scotland game, we were lacking a lot of creativity. And I do think if you Jadon Sancho, you would be disappointed to have not started that game. But yeah, Saka came in and I thought did a very good job. I think I've mentioned him quite a few times on this podcast now, but big fan of his. He was quite lively. And England certainly created a lot more than they did against Scotland. Not that that's an achievement in and of itself, because we didn't create a single chance in the second half. But yeah, it was nice to see him getting some game time and putting himself into contention.
Now, a question that I think was thrown around a lot was Harry Kane starting this game. Obviously, he needs to find the form by playing. He can't find the form by sitting on the bench. But I think a lot of people are expecting Southgate to shift on who was playing up top against the Czech Republic. Do you think he made the right decision by playing Kane for, I think it ended up being like 75, 80 minutes?
I think there are people who have been critical of Kane so far this tournament, but I would also say, and I don't know if you agree with me on this, that I don't think the service he's had has been fantastic so far. Certainly he could be doing more, but I don't think he's seeing as much of the ball as someone of his quality needs to be.
No, definitely not. I think it's kind of a two-way street. He's not had the supply, but he's also not been in the correct positions. He has been dropping very deep, and I know he plays like that for Tottenham, but he doesn't need to do it for England, I don't think. Yeah,
it's a very Rooney-esque at the moment, is coming that deep. It was one of the big criticisms of him during a lot of his time with the England squad. It's a tough one, I think, because I think a lot of us wanted to kind of see us go almost all out against Czech Republic by fielding a stronger, more attack-minded midfield. But no, it was not meant to be for the first half anyway. We had the two holding midfielders, and then we really went for it by taking Declan Rice off and putting Jordan Henderson on.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people online complaining about Henderson's inclusion in this game. But if he's going to see tournament football at some point this campaign, it should have been in the Czech Republic game. And to be honest, he didn't show himself up. He put himself about for the half an hour that he were on. But I would have rested Phillips. I would have at least taken Phillips off because that means he's played 90 minutes for the full group stage.
Yeah, but you look at the top players in this tournament. When you look at Mbappe, you look at Ronaldo, and you look at Phillips, and I think players like that need to be on the field the whole time.
It took me a second to process what you were saying.
No, I was surprised because, if nothing else, Gareth Southgate definitely has his favourites. It's Raheem Sterling is one of his favourites. I think we've all noticed that. I would have thought just for the amount, for the extra time he's been in Gareth Southgate's England squad, that Rice would have been the one that stayed on. But was very happy to see Phillips play, and because I think the one thing for him is that he probably needs to be playing more. I think just to keep involved with this difference in style that he's not been around and involved in as long as. I know he's been in the England squad for a year now, but Declan Rice has been in there for 3 or 4 years now. Yeah,
and I think playing alongside someone like Jordan Henderson, who I think he divides a lot of people, does Jordan Henderson with his playing style. But I think playing alongside Henderson in that England side probably has raised Rice's game defensively anyway.
Yeah, there's no questioning. I think certainly for Liverpool, how much of an impact Jordan Henderson has on that team as a leader, and I fully understand his inclusion on that. I think the worry was that I don't think at any point in this tournament you're going to have a fully fit Henderson, because especially now, I don't think you can risk starting him in games.
No. I know you get 5 subs this tournament, don't you? So maybe 85th minute, everything's getting a bit hectic. You need someone to come on and control the midfield. He's probably the person that you bring on.
I don't know why the midfield needs control, and Calvin Phillips will already be on the field.
Well, we'll see. We'll see on Tuesday night, but we'll get to all those games. Obviously, Harry Maguire also came back in that game. I think he looked pretty solid. Both him and John Stones in the second half tried to get the ball forward because, we couldn't create chances. So both our centre-halves thought, fuck it, we'll try.
Yeah, John Stones acting like he was when he set that record for the season of the most distance, most ball carry yards, I think it was, when Leeds were down to 10 men at the Etihad. And John Stones just thought, sod it, I'm just going to start legging it forward. But I think I said before, it'd be a little bit harsh if you dropped Tyrone Mings. I thought he'd had a good couple of games. But the one thing you can't criticise England for at the moment is the defence. With three games, non-conceded. I think the defence has done its job.
Yeah, it definitely has. And to be honest, I was one of the people that were a bit critical of Stones coming into this competition. I thought he's got a mistake in him, and especially if Harry Maguire's injured, him having to be the senior leader in that centre-back pairing kind of worried me a little bit, but he seems to have been quite solid. And Tyrone Mings has stepped up compared to his performances in the friendlies before the tournament.
I have found it quite funny. I've seen it a couple of times. This rhetoric of you don't win tournaments by scoring goals, but you can win tournaments by stopping them. And I feel those people have a distinct lack of understanding of how knockout football works.
Yeah, that works for the group stage.
Yeah, it's great that we've gone 3 games unbeaten, no goals conceded. But I don't know, and I hope in my lifetime I never see a team that doesn't score a goal in any of the knockout games and just wins them all on penalties. That would be the worst tournament. Just 0-0, 0-0, 0-0, finals 0-0 penalty. I
mean, if you take take the 0-0s out and just do draws. That is what Portugal did 2016.
I'd completely forgotten about it when they said that Portugal, having won that tournament, didn't win a single game. And they drew all 3 of their group games, didn't they? It was awful.
Yeah.
Round after round, I looked at that Portugal team and just kept going, yeah, but they're not going to win it. The average age is about 34.
And then Renato Sanchez.
Yeah.
We might as well talk about the other group game that took place. Scotland 1, Croatia 3. Scotland, after, 25 years of waiting to be back at a tournament, are out at the group stage. Luka Modric's goal, though, is a very big standout moment. That outside the foot, just from outside the box, it's a lovely finish. And I'm sure Modric is like 35 as well.
Yeah, it's very much one of those. He might not have the legs anymore, but technically it's all still... Scotland can go away, safe in the knowledge they got a 0-0 draw against England, as if that means something.
Yeah, they drew the cup final.
Yeah. Yeah, they won that cup final by drawing. Now, if I'm being honest, I think Scotland were unlucky not to get anything from the Czech Republic game, and I think that was always going to be the problem. Like, that was the game Scotland needed to get a win, because especially when that's your opening game, you're then facing 2 teams who are in the top 15 in the world, and I think it'll be about that. And yes, there's always going to be a different atmosphere to the England game, and you've always got that bit derby to it that can change the game slightly, but they were always going to be in trouble once they'd lost that game.
Yeah, but I'm sure Callum McGregor will be happy being the only player to score for Scotland in the Euros this campaign.
He's the only player to score for Scotland in this century in a tournament. It's what? Actually, no. I take that back. Technically, he's the only player to score for Scotland in a tournament this millennium. Now, the millennium might only be 21 years old, but still.
There's your pub quiz answers. So we'll go on to the round of 16 games, because there's some big ties and there's some big names that are going to have to leave the tournament in this round. We'll go through.
Are England one of them?
Probably. We'll go through them in the order that they're going to be played, except for the England, Germany, Sweden, Ukraine game. We'll flip that. We'll talk about that last. So the first game that takes place tomorrow, 5:00, Wales versus Denmark. Denmark, by some miracle, started the final day bottom with 0 points and still managed to finish second in their group.
For them, it was a resounding win against the Russians as well. It wasn't just a struggling, throw everyone forward in the last 10 minutes. They absolutely battered Russia. And I think all of us are glad that they went through. Obviously, the events with Christian Eriksen were kind of rough, and the fact that they then lost to Finland, who only had 1 shot. The footballing gods were not on their side, but it's nice to see them get through. I think there's been a fantastic atmosphere in the other 2 games in Copenhagen. But I'd fancy the Welsh against them.
I'm quite surprised about that, because the way Denmark played against Belgium, I think it was very unlucky that Denmark didn't come away with at least a point against Belgium, because if it wasn't for De Bruyne coming on midway through the second half, Denmark had been all over them. They'd played Belgian football better than the Belgians had. And then obviously couple that with the performance against Russia, other than Christiansen absolutely twatting one from about 35 yards. They look solid, and I'm trying to remember what that young attacking midfielder, is it Damsgaard? That young attacking midfielder they've got looks really, really good, and he looks like a very dangerous option for them. I don't know if Wales defensively will be able to cope with them overloading them on the counter attack.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I like the Wales performance. The final 2 games, I thought they were awful in the opener with Wales. But against Turkey, and I thought for parts against Italy, I thought they did quite well. Rode the luck at times against Italy, who probably should have had at least a second. But it's very strange to think that you've got Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale in a team, and that Kiefer Moore might be the biggest threat they have in that team at the moment. But I think against someone like Denmark, Kiefer Moore could be very effective. Dan James has looked good, obviously very dangerous with his pace as well. Now, if Dan James could cross a ball, he'd be dangerous.
That has been my takeaway from him being at Man United is he's got everything but a final product.
I should have joined Leeds.
Yeah, and then he would have been playing under 21s football still.
He'd probably be a fullback. he'd be a younger Gianni Alioski. Well, yeah, true. But yeah, I like the Welsh threat that they have going forward. You know, they've got a good bit of pace. They've got plenty of experience down the middle. It's just strange that a nation who I think could potentially do well in this tournament are led by a team led by a striker who is playing for Cardiff.
Yeah, it is a very, very strange sight. But Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale will have to work a bit of magic if Wales are to get through against Denmark and the power of the footballing gods that may be behind them.
Yeah. It should be an interesting. I do think in terms of your starting 11s, I don't think there's a lot in it between them. I think they're different sets of players, and I don't just mean literally. I think in terms of skill set, but I think it is probably fairly evenly matched.
Yeah, well, Wales are classed as the home team for this, even though they're playing in Amsterdam. So it will be Denmark versus Wales. It won't be Denmark versus Australia's B team. But we'll go through and we'll do predictions for each game. So what is your prediction for that Wales-Denmark game?
Ooh. Do you know what? I'm going to say draw after 90 minutes and then Wales to progress. I'm going to have to put Wales. I'm going to have to put this together as an accumulator.
I'm going to back Denmark over 90 minutes. I'm going to go 1-0 Denmark. So the second game for that day sees Italy, who have not conceded a single goal. Well, only us and Italy are the two teams that haven't conceded a goal this tournament so far. But then again, Italy have also scored 7. Versus Austria, who scraped through by the skin of their teeth thanks to beating Ukraine on final. Was it Ukraine? Am I right by saying? Switzerland? No. It was Ukraine, wasn't it? Yeah, by beating Ukraine. Beating Ukraine, I think that game ended 1-0. So, I mean, I think we might as well just go Italy, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not an Austria team that's got a lot about it. It's a solid team, but I would expect Italy to progress fairly comfortably from this one.
Like, I look at this, I didn't realise how much quality Austria do actually have. I know that everyone jokes that David Alaba is their only key player, but they have got Hinteregger from Frankfurt, I think it is, that he plays for in the Bundesliga, and he's a decent centre half. They've got a few centre mids that play Italian and German football. Arnautovic is a striker who's always had a bit of potential, but seems to also have a bit of an attitude problem. Hence,
that's a very nice way of putting it.
Yeah, but they're not. They don't have the depth that Italy do, and especially with the way that Italy's midfielder's been playing. Because I know it's been thrown around a lot, but Locatelli looks to be having a phenomenal tournament, which has seen him be linked with every team that's in the Champions League, probably.
Yeah, and it was, obviously comfortable for Italy. They made 8 changes to the starting lineup, I think, and then also for the last 10 minutes of that game brought on their third choice keeper, which I actually really like. I think Mancini said it really hurt him to be chosen for Italia 90 and not play a single minute. So he's trying to make sure the whole squad is going to get some game time. So I've got a lot of time for that. But yeah, they just look so comfortable either way.
Yeah, which is why I expected Southgate to, get caught up in the romance of that quote and, do the same and throw Ben White on at left back for the last 3 minutes of a game. Just go on, Ben. Go enjoy yourself.
Yeah, difference being that we weren't coming off the back of a 3-0 win against Turkey. We were coming off the back of a 0-0 draw against Scotland.
Yeah, but it's Southgate, isn't it? Yeah, just go enjoy yourself.
I honestly think he needs. I know we keep coming back to England, but he needs to put that waistcoat back on. I think there's magic in that waistcoat somewhere.
So the next game, the first game of the Sunday, we'll see Netherlands play the Czech Republic. Netherlands have been one of those teams that they've looked really good for most parts of their game, but defensively they look a little bit leaky. I don't know. I know Van Dijk missing is for them, but do you think they can? I know Czech Republic is based around their defensive options. Do you think they'll keep this Czech Republic side out?
I think so. Again, just off the basis of the England and Scotland games, I think Czech Republic are a very mediocre team. I've not thought a whole lot to them. I don't think they're the most creative team, and I think that will suit Netherlands in this one. Netherlands are, again, one of those teams where they've looked good, but you kind of question who they've been playing against and how they will fare if they come up against one of the other big names in the tournament. But then again, and we'll kind of come to it as we go through, are there any of the big names who you would then say have had a great tournament so far outside of Italy?
Yeah, no, not really, because Netherlands are probably the second best, only because I think there's still more to see from that Belgian side. I think Depay has really shone in that Netherlands side, and Gini Wijnaldum as well, showing why Liverpool should have just given him a contract and not let him go on a free transfer to PSG, because he's run that midfield and he shows he's not just a defensive holding midfielder. He's really capable of getting forward and producing some pretty clinical goals as well.
Yeah, it's kind of what I like about Dutch football, and I know they dropped off sort of the last 4 or so years, but Dutch football is back to being attacking and artistic again, which I quite like. Probably not quite to the standards that I have in my head of sort of 98 and 2000 Holland of just Kluivert, David, Seedorf, Bergkamp, and just a team that won absolutely nothing but played the nicest football doing it. It's not quite there, but you've got Denzel Dumfries, who I feel like is probably going to be the player coming out of the tournament that's probably increased his value the most by the end of it. It's either him or is it Zaloi, the Hungarian striker?
Yeah.
I think it'd be one of them two probably, and I think Denzel Dumfries was already probably quite an expensive player going into it, but they've got some fantastic options of Netherlands at the moment, and I'm just interested to see what happens when they come up against a quality defence.
Yeah, I'm in two minds about this game because we know from the past. Was it 7 years? Is it 7 years that it's taken them to get back to a major tournament? Technically 6 because they did qualify for Euro 2020, but it's taken them 6 years to get back to a major tournament. They got through the group stages without really any hiccups other than possibly almost dropping that 2-0 lead against Ukraine. There's part of me that thinks they might just slip up against this Czech Republic side. There might be one of the shock results for this round of 16. I think everyone has got Netherlands pegged to take it a quarterfinal place, but I think Frank de Boer's side could just underestimate Czech Republic.
The bit of bias I'll have in this is I don't think Czech Republic are going anywhere when they're not playing my boy Adam Hlozek, who is the future star, I believe, and should be the star of this team now. Honestly, I know he's just a child, but build that team around him already, just so he can get used to it.
So what's your prediction?
I'm going Holland, Netherlands to go through.
I'm gonna say this goes all the way to penalties.
Ooh.
I'm going to say it's a 0-0 all the way to penalties, and I think Netherlands just scrape through on penalties. They'll do, what they normally do. Let's bring Tim Krul on in the 118th minute. Just do what you do, Krul. Save the penalties and just put us through.
I laugh, but it seems to work. I don't know what it is, but it just... There's a penalty shootout, put Tim Krul on, we will win. I don't understand how it works, but it does.
Yeah, if fucking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had taken that tactic and put fucking Dean Henderson on, we might have won a Europa League.
For a second there, I thought you were saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needed to sign Tim Krul.
Fuck it, we signed Lee Grant last year. We're signing Tom Heaton this year. Next year, we might as well sign fucking Tim Krul.
I'm saying this as someone who's, we've been out of the Premier League for a long time, so I'm still not entirely sure how it works. How many goalkeepers does a Premier League team actually need? Because I always assumed it was 2, and then you'd have like an 18-year-old on the bench just in case.
Yeah, no, you see, our young 18-year-old is classed as Dean Henderson, and he's now our second choice. I think Lee Grant has gone to become a backroom staff member at Man United. I think he's now our goalkeeping coach, which seems redundant for a player who didn't win anything as a goalkeeper.
Get Andy Lonergan in.
But he won things.
Yeah, but that's the ridiculous nature. Like when Leeds were in the Championship, we signed Ross Turnbull on a free transfer, and that man is classed as a Champions League winner. Like, I don't understand this world we live in now. Like, before you just have your best goalkeeper would be starting, and then just as a goalkeeper who was just slightly less good than your first choice. And now you've got Man City fucking wheeling out Scott Carson for games for some reason.
Hey, I think he's gone back. He's gone back to Derby now. I mean, Derby, who might be playing League One football next season, but he's gone back to Derby.
Yeah, it's a weird situation there now where they've had to draft the league fixtures with both Wickham, with Wickham and Derby.
So before we turn this back into a Premier League podcast, move on to the second game of the Sunday, which is Belgium versus Portugal, which is one of the big teams has to go home in this fixture. And I say big teams lightly, only because Portugal won it last time.
Yeah, what I really want to happen is just have Portugal get knocked out and Ronaldo not to score, so he's still stuck tied on the record. I think Belgium will have this one. You know, having watched Belgium again in the group stages, I thought Belgium were probably the team that I thought looked the best without getting out of second gear. You know, I think they've looked very comfortable, and I do think they had another level to them. If I think in that final group game, if Doku could have found a pass, Lukaku might have had 5.
I really rate that Jeremy Doku. I think he's going to be a world-class player for the future. Yeah, maybe that is the bit of his game that he is missing, is that final ball, or maybe, looking up. But he did just pick the ball up and he terrorised that Finnish defence. I was trying to figure out if it was Finland or Russia. He terrorised that Finnish defence all game.
Yeah, and Lukaku looks well up for this tournament as well. There's when you look at the strikers coming into this tournament, obviously there's a lot of talk around players like Kane and Mbappe, and neither one of those has yet to hit anything close to form. But Lukaku is ready to go in this tournament so far. He's looked very sharp. I think the way he's used his body, I think he's so strong. Me and Jack were talking the other day whilst watching that game, and it is amazing that Jose Mourinho has looked at him twice as a manager and gone, "Nah, he's not for me."
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it wasn't just Jose Mourinho. I mean, I don't know what happened towards Lukaku's career at the back end of Man United, but I would have thought Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have done everything possible to be able to hold on to him. Because as you can see under Conte Inter Milan, he's a different breed. He's kind of like people talk about Haaland and how Haaland plays. Lukaku is very much the same. He's a bus that moves at the speed of a supercar. Just his first touch is a little bit, but he did get pissed off at people on Twitter for talking about that. So,
are you saying he's the army tank with a Ferrari engine?
He's not. What was it? Husky Harris. He's not Husky Harris now. But yeah, I think overall, if you try to weigh it up, a lot of people do this when it comes to knockout football. They put like their combined 11. I think if you try to do a combined 11 for this, you probably have Ronaldo and then the Belgian squad.
Yeah. Again, like you look at the group of death, the 3 teams that should have progressed have, and I'd argue not one of them has stood out yet. Portugal, obviously they got the 3-0 win against Hungary, but they had to work hard for it. It took until the 83rd minute, I think it was, in that game for them to take the lead. And Hungary had a goal just disallowed for offside that wasn't a million miles off. The threat was there. And then in the other 2, they've struggled back against France. And then as soon as they found out in that one that once the Germany game had finished, that game ground to a halt 5 minutes early. And then they lost to Germany, didn't they, as well?
They didn't just lose to Germany, though. They got absolutely battered. It were one of those of, although they scored 2, scoring 2 really flattered them, because I think Germany just outplayed them on the day. Everything that Portugal did in that game just seemed to be with no end product. There was maybe, outside the 2 goals, which is a a stretch. The only other chance that I can really think of is Bruno Fernandes having a pop from about 25 yards. Other than that, they really didn't test Germany too much. So I don't hold high hopes for Portugal being able to beat this Belgian side.
No, this probably sounds like a daft thing to say when you're talking about one of the best players in the world, but it is a team that is so reliant on Cristiano Ronaldo to produce something, which is strange because their attacking option, as a starting lineup, it's a very strong team. I did think they probably looked a bit better without Bruno Fernandes in the final game.
Fuck off.
This world's only big enough for one penalty taker, and unfortunately, it's not him. But yeah, I've yet to see anything from Portugal that's made me think that they're going to push out. Like I don't see them making it to the semi-finals, and honestly, I'd be surprised if they got out of this round.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think Bruno definitely needed a rest. I think there was a stat that came up saying he's played the most games out of any player across the top 5 leagues, and he's played something ridiculous. Like he started 74 and actually played 80 games of football this season, which is ridiculous when you think about it.
And he didn't win the league.
He didn't win fucking anything.
All of that game time for nothing.
So yeah, he probably did need the rest, but no, Belgium all the way for me for this one.
Yeah, me too.
So the first game of the Monday sees Croatia versus Spain. Now, if you in 2018, I think this was a tie-in. No, it was Russia that knocked Spain out in 2018. Croatia versus Spain. It's a game where you think, God, that's going to be full of absolute quality, but we didn't see quality from either side until the final group game, really.
And to be honest, I've already forgotten now. It was Slovenia they were playing against, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Slovenia were as big a threat to themselves as Spain were.
And Dubravka.
Wow, magnifique.
They can't score if I score for them.
Yeah, it was one of those. Spain have done what Spain have been doing for the last 15 years in retaining possession really well, moving it around, the textbook tiki-taka. But there'd been very little end product to it. And you look at their front line, and it's, in my lifetime, the names you kind of looked at for Spain were players like Fernando Torres and Raul and players like that. And I don't think they have a striker at the moment that defenders would fear playing against as much.
Hey, don't you rub Gerard Moreno's name into the dirt like that.
I mean, I know he's a UEFA Cup winner, but...
Fucking love Gerard Moreno. If only he could take a penalty.
Because you know what Man United could do with is another penalty taker.
Oh, no, I was more alluding to the fact that he fucking scored in the penalty shootout.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, there was a stat that was thrown up in the France-Portugal game where both Ronaldo and Benzema were on for a hat-trick. The last person to score a hat-trick in the Euros was David Villa in 2008. And you think back to that Spanish squad from 2008 to 2012 and you go, God, they've fallen so far.
Yeah, there's so few players kind of on that level of, you're talking peak Ramos, peak Xavi and Iniesta, David Villa. There was just talent all over the place.
You want to say peak Piqué.
What if I say peak A?
Fine.
Because if I say peak PK, it sounds like I'm a strange. Well, it sounds like I'm a knockoff version of Pikachu. Yeah, it's. I don't. I always think with time when I see squads like that, if it's just me getting old and that I don't pay as much attention to foreign leagues as I used to, but there is times when I look at this Spanish team and go, "Who's this then? Like, who's this lad?
Yeah, the one name.
Why are they here?"
The one name from that game against Slovenia that stood out to me was that Pedri, who's at Barca, who's not played that much for Barca this season by all accounts, but looks like he can control the midfield. He seemed to be everywhere in that game.
Yeah, I mean, eventually they kind of settled in and got the few goals in the second half. Again, rounded off with another own goal, but I think that was much needed for them. They were looking frustrated in those first two games that I don't think they got going to the level they should be.
So predictions for this. I mean, we've not really spoken about the Croatia squad, but we have spoke about it before because of them being in our group. Obviously, we already know it's a very old, aged squad that is held up by people like Luka Modric, Perisic, Kovacic, Brozovic, anyone with an itch.
Dominic Dijakovic, they're all in there.
But I think they are missing that kind of killer finisher that they used to have when they had people like Mandzukic up top. Rebic really isn't the goal scorer. I'm surprised they've not tried Kramaric up top by himself because he's a decent goal scorer for Hoffenheim. And he could
Rebic was on the bench against Scotland, wasn't he, in that final game?
Yeah, he got dropped altogether because he's just, for some reason, he just can't seem to find the back of the net for that side.
It's a really ringing endorsement for this tournament, how many teams we've praised.
Yeah.
Because so far there is Belgium and there's Belgium and Italy and maybe Holland.
Yeah, and both of them can't get to the final because they're on the same side.
Yeah.
Yeah, so going against all logic about what I've just said, I'm going to predict Croatia to go through.
I'm not. I'm gonna stick with Spain.
Over 90.
Ooh. Sod it, extra time.
Oh, he's pushing the boat out.
I know.
And then the final game from that Monday sees France take on Switzerland. Again, we spoke about this Switzerland.
Should we just say France and move on?
Yeah, I was literally just about to say, we spoke about the Switzerland side, and yeah, they've got a bit more quality than what we originally thought, but France. So, yeah, I can't see any other result than France going out there and probably battering them.
It's that thing though, like France all day are favourites for this. It's not even close. But I thought they looked very good against the Germans. And then, couldn't break down the Hungarians really and got a 1-1 draw from that. It was a 2-2 draw with Portugal, which I'm not. Essentially, what I'm waiting for is Kylian Mbappe to turn up because his pace is scary. Like I thought he looked great against the Germans, and then these other two games probably not really as threatening.
No, to be honest, I mean that Hungary game was, I think, the worst France have probably played a tournament since what they walked out in 2010.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, headed by, I'm pretty sure, Anelka.
I mean, the French have always been good at surrendering.
So yeah, I think France will probably just walk through this. But then again, with knockout football, you can't really tell until the day.
Yeah.
We have.
Oh,
Go on.
that's fine. Go on.
We've got 2 comments from Hamza saying, hello, do you guys have some ideas about Euro Fantasy? Yeah, if you go into the description, because you're watching on YouTube, if you go to the description, there is a code to join our Euro Fantasy League. I am going with the whole logic of make sure you pick Denzel Dumfries, because he is phenomenal at bombing on that right-hand side, and playing against the Czech Republic, I imagine he'll probably at least get an assist. Any of the Netherlands sides, and probably any of the French players as well playing Switzerland, because if France turn up, they should batter them.
Yeah. My team has been flitting between mid-table and relegation, so I'm probably not the best person to be giving out advice.
Yeah. Oh, I did actually. I also omitted probably some Italian midfielders, because Berardi is a great shout for any Euro Fantasy team at this point. He's only 6 million, but playing on that right wing and assisted towards Immobile and Insigne as well is probably a good shout. I'm always reluctant to pick an Italian striker, because I'm not. I know Immobile scored twice this tournament, but I'm still reluctant to see whether he'll get any more goals. But I think Berardi's still a good choice. I still think Lorenzo Insigne is still a good choice. And Donnarumma in goal as well. He's, with them not conceding, it's between picking him or hoping Pickford keeps a clean sheet against Germany.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our league table at the moment, and I am 12th of 14. So yeah, don't. Whatever I do, don't do that. And I don't know what I'm doing.
Hamza's put, yeah, good choices. Thank you. I mean, I'm 4th. I'm not doing great, but I'm there. I was top. I'm not anymore.
What are you on? You're on 149. I'm back on 114. So yeah.
There's another comment: Immobile or Lukaku. Like I said, I would back Italy to score more, but I don't reckon it'll be Immobile who does score for them. So I'd be more tempted to pick Lukaku to score against Portugal, because I think he'll have the pace, and if a ball's whipped in, I reckon he's more likely to beat Pepe and Ruben Diaz to the ball.
Yeah, I'd fancy at this point. I kind of fancy Lukaku to win the Golden Boot at the moment.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't know. Ronaldo's sitting on 5 goals. It's a tough ask for someone to come through and take that.
Yeah, they're going to. If they get knocked out in this round, then easy.
Yeah, but Harry Kane won the World Cup Golden Boot with 6. I'm sure 5 of them came in the group stage.
Hey, 4 of those were against Panama.
So we'll move on. Obviously, we're doing the final day in reverse order, so we'll talk about Sweden versus Ukraine first. Sweden have actually quite impressed me in their group. I kind of had them languishing between 2nd and 3rd. I wasn't 100% sure where they were going to be. Obviously, Ibrahimovic being injured just before this tournament, he picked up a knee injury, meaning that they've kind of had to rely on that Isaac, who plays for Sociedad, up top. But he's looked really good. I mean, his first touches, he's dribbling inside the box, the way that he gets away from players, he seems to be really good. And having someone like Forsberg in just behind him could be lethal for this Swedish side.
Yeah, I always quite like ties like this, just because it's quite nice to have countries like Ukraine and Sweden that could progress to the later stages of the tournament, which I always think keeps things interesting. I've never been a big fan of kind of pre-planning the routes of teams. I've always thought, like, I'd love an FA Cup style draw for tournaments once you get to the knockout stages, just so that you're not looking going, well, if we finish here, then we're going to avoid Germany until the quarterfinals. I've never been fussed for that. I've always thought it'd be a lot more interesting to sit there and just have it drawn out. But that said, it's quite nice to see that one of these teams is going to the quarterfinals. I would probably back Sweden in this. I think they are a talented side, but I think you have an incredible work ethic with that Swedish team. I think it's a very hard-working side, very physical, but they will impose themselves on games. And I think against someone like Ukraine, I think they will probably dominate that.
I think Ukraine have been kind of underrated in this tournament. I think Yarmolenko's shown if he can stay fit, he's still such a good player, and he's got a lethal left foot on him. That goal that he scored against the Netherlands was absolutely cracking. But they've got that Yarmolenko up top who plays for, I think it's Ghent or Genk. It's one of the two Belgian sides, and he's looking for a move, and you can tell he's looking for a move because he's playing out of his skin. And they've got a Atalanta attacking midfielder that I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But going forwards, they've looked quite good. It's just defensively they seem to be let down. I mean, they're playing Zinchenko as like a left-sided attacking midfielder, which seems really strange, seeing though, he's ideally a left-back, but it's very much the David Alaba syndrome of he's our best player, he needs to go forward.
The Andy Robertson problem.
Two left backs. Fuck, what do we do? Hamza's sent another comment saying, yeah, for sure, Sweden is going to win. It's not going to be an easy game, but for me, Sweden is way better than Ukraine. I think it's going to be very, very close between these two, but I think defensively, Sweden probably do have the edge because for some reason, again, another Man United player playing really well for his national side, but he doesn't do this for us. Victor Lindelof's looked really comfortable at the back for Sweden.
I mean, maybe if you just had a good manager, he might be a good player, but not that I'm critical of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or anything.
Hey, we had the best defensive manager you could have in Mourinho, and still couldn't do it.
Yeah, but I think he was also like verbally and mentally abusing his players. I mean, look at Luke Shaw. That man still walks around and looks like he's shell-shocked or something.
He's still abusing him on TalkSport. He's sat on TalkSport saying, I don't know why he's there. Why is he playing for England? Leave the poor man alone. You're in Rome now. Fuck off.
I wonder if Luke Shaw's got like a punching bag at home with just Mourinho's face just stapled to it or something.
Just dartboard.
Just... my other theory in this one is if Ukraine are drawing or losing towards the end of this, at what point does Shevchenko bring himself on?
If it goes to penalties, I think he's on in the 119th minute.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd really like to see a manager just take off a suit and he's just like, whereas John Terry would turn up in the full kit, like, no, I want the suit over the top of the full kit.
Do you mean like a Velcro suit so he could proper like rip it off?
Oh, yeah, it's just like tears it off like a superhero.
Oh, God. You know what the thing is? Ibra's that kind of person that if Sweden were getting to like a penalty shootout and it was the 119th minute, knee injury or not, he would be sat there on the bench in his tracksuit ready to take a fucking penalty.
Damn it, why don't more players wear tearaway clothing? It's what you want, like, 10 minutes left, you stick in a striker on, you just want to see him just, right, Gaffer, let's do this.
Because nobody wants to see Wayne Rooney on the sideline stripping like that.
He'd fall over, wouldn't
And, if someone like Michael Owen tried to do it, he'd probably blow his knee out at the same time.
I picture Wayne Rooney wearing like those older ones that had all the buttons down the side, so they weren't fully tear away, but you could just open the legs on each side.
Like assless chaps.
That's not what I was thinking, and please don't put that image in anyone's head. No one needs that image of Wayne Rooney.
So yeah,
hey, love, which
Sweden.
one of you is that dancing for?
Oh god. Yeah. So Sweden.
They call me the Scouse Cowboy.
It's not Shawn Michaels. Yeah. I've got Sweden going through after extra time.
I'm going to go Sweden in 90 minutes.
Hamza with a comment. The most difficult game, in my opinion, is England versus Germany. Wow, well, you're in for a treat because we're about to go through that now. Whoa. I'm going to say save the best to last, but this probably might be the most boring game to watch if you're not an English or German fan.
I really don't know where to pitch Germany at the moment because, again, how does a team look so vulnerable against Hungary? Like, how? That is insane. And yet, demolished Portugal. The goal, the opener that Ronaldo scored in that game was so against the run of play that Germany had just been creating chance after chance. And then against France, it was somewhere in the middle of those two performances. So I have no idea. I've no idea where to pitch this Germany team at the moment.
I mean, I don't want to jump on the bandwagon because I know everyone after that game was going, "Oh, it's Penaldo. Look, he scored 2 penalties." But the penalties that were given, they seemed quite soft. I mean, the France penalty seemed very soft.
There was the France had that penalty claim waved away with about 10 minutes left as well, didn't they? When it was who was it now that basically got studs in the back of his calf? I can't remember what that was.
Was it Rabiot that got studs right in the back?
I think so, yeah. VAR was just having none of that one.
Well, to be fair, VAR also had none of, Leroy Sané falling to the floor and purposely pushing the ball away from the Hungarian. He got a yellow card. He fell on the floor. The ball came towards him and went, nah, just that way. It was a clear red card.
Gamesmanship. Love to see it.
Yeah, attacking-wise, I'm not really actually too scared for Germany. Bring Timo Werner on, he's just going to be offside. Kai Havertz
play Harry Kane against them. He's going to be playing as a holding mid.
Harry Kane might as well play in net for us.
John Pickford seems like somebody who would fancy himself to lead the line.
Right, I'm going to put this. Hamza's put this comment. I'm going to put it up on screen. Southgate versus Lowe, the Battle of the Bastards. Does that not sound like a Sean Bean movie to you?
Well, I mean, that was it the Battle of the Bastard? That was Game of Thrones, wasn't it? With Jon Snow, King of the North, against everyone.
Ramsey.
Well, Aaron Ramsey sat on his horse and watched, but actually, no. Aaron Ramsey sat on a sheep and watched would have been the best one.
Fuck's sake!
Couldn't help myself.
So yeah, attacking wise, the person that does scare me the most for this German side, and he's not really shown it this tournament, is Serge Gnabry. I think Serge Gnabry with his pace probably does cause us the most problems from this German side.
Yeah, I probably agree with you. Sané's been mostly used as a sub in this, hasn't he? So far, he's been coming off the bench, and yeah, like I said, I've no idea what to think of this German team. It's probably not as good as they were 2 or 3 years ago. Probably should be starting Robin Koch at centre back, which again is completely biased. I just think all the Leeds players should be starting. I can't believe I didn't say that about Diego Llorente, to be honest. I think Spain would be through if they were playing Diego Llorente, because he'd just be shooting from 50 yards.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
He'd be trying to beat Schick's record.
It's going to be weird, going into this round and going from having 5 Leeds players there to only having 3 at the tournament now.
Yeah. Click's gone. Gianni's gone. Oh, fair play to the Macedonians. I've got to give them credit for that Holland performance, because despite the fact that Holland cut them open a couple of times, one, I was desperate to see Goran Pandev finish with a goal. Would have been so nice for him to get a goal in his last game. But I've got a lot of respect for a team that's going out of a tournament that's getting absolutely battered, and it's just like, no, we're just going to keep pushing for a goal.
Yeah.
Like, fair fucks to them. They were entertaining. I like them. Shame they're gone.
They got no points, but...
Yeah, but they were entertaining in doing it.
Yeah.
They were better than England, really, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and, Alioski can hold that record of being the youngest North Macedonian to ever score Euros.
At 29.
Well, it's better than the original record of it being Pandev.
Yeah, 47. Could pass for 50s.
Practically retired.
Sorry, we were talking about England, Germany.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any changes you make to the. Do you think Bukayo Saka stays in after his performance?
I think unquestionably he probably needs to stay in, because the way he ran with the ball, no matter what happened, what position he got the ball to his feet, his first thought was, right, turn and run. It wasn't this, let's pass it back, pass it around our centre-backs 7 times and then play it through to midfield for him to play it to the left-back for us to go back and do it again. It was, give me the ball, I'm going to go forward. And I think that's why people really wanted to see Grealish as well, because he's another one of those players where it's, give me the ball, I'm going to go forward, and someone just help, someone just be there. And I think we need that in our side. We can't keep trying to play this control football and slow it right down, because we just leave ourselves so open by doing that.
Yeah, in terms of my sort of personal preferences on football outside of, the Bielsa press, I've always thought the strength of English football has always been sort of getting at the fullback and looking for the pullback to the edge of the area. And I think you've got players who are suited for that, who would be breaking us, instead of having Rice and Phillips in midfield. If you take the chance, and obviously I know Mason Mount's not available for this. No, he's not available, is he? Or is
he'll be out of isolation on the day.
Oh, so he could be. That'd be an interesting one then to see how we go with that. But if you look between Foden, Mount, Bellingham, Grealish, you all have players who could play as that second centre mid that are breaking forward and arriving late on the edge of the penalty area. But instead, we've got Phillips and Rice who are going to sit deeper, and that's the other thing. I don't think you ever get the best out of Calvin Phillips in this system at the moment, just because you don't get the wingers trying to make that run in behind the fullbacks, where Phillips can kind of play that ball. It's that long diagonal for them to run onto.
The one time we did see that was the first game against Croatia, and he played a lovely ball over the top for Foden to run onto. And, with the way Foden's first touch is, no wonder. That is a lethal connection. If we can get Phillips on the left-hand side of midfield pinging a ball over for Foden to run onto, or in this case, probably Saka to run onto, we really could carve this German side open, because I don't think defensively, with people like Hummels, Rudiger, trying to think of who their third centre-back is. I think they're playing that, oh God, what's his name? Plays for Mönchengladbach. Ginter. Yeah, they're playing those as a back three, and I think Rudiger's a lot more attacking minded, and Hummels doesn't look all there defensively. So I think a few over the top balls, and we could really press this German side.
Yeah, I don't know how you feel about it. Like my abiding memories now of England in knockout stages of tournaments, for the most part, have been very underwhelming. You set up almost defensively, and just never really imposing themselves on games. So, I know I'm a little bit older than you, so I still remember very well when Germany knocked us out in 2010 in South Africa, and I think that. I think we went through it during the Scotland game. The England squad that went to that tournament, it was a dire England squad.
Yeah,
not Eric Dyer. Worse, Matthew Upson.
I'm going to say our three centre-back options of John Terry, Matthew Upson and Jamie Carragher really highlighted where we had a problem for that tournament.
Gareth Barry, the defensive linchpin in midfield. Oh, God. I'm just getting depressed thinking about it. But, we were thoroughly outclassed during that game. And yes, there was the whole thing of Lampard's goal not being counted as it should have done. But I struggle to remember anything positive England did in that game. And I would love for us to go up against someone like Germany, because I think this squad has that attacking capability. And I just really want to see someone actually unleash Grealish, Sterling, Foden, Saka, whoever it is in those roles. Just give them that free rein to get at German defenders.
This is the kind of game, and I know he's retired internationally, but this is the kind of game Jamie Vardy is absolutely perfect for. Because he just runs defences ragged. Whereas Kane, obviously, he's kind of transformed his game now. He's not playing on the last man. He's more dropping back and looking to help to put a winger through for them to cut back to it. Sterling's not that kind of winger. He ain't going to look for a cutback. He's going to look for a few step overs in the box, maybe a foul, and probably get a shot off at the near post. Saka, you're probably more likely to get a pass back. Sancho's going to look to cut for his left foot. We've got our attacking wingers, very attacking minded, but they're not assist minded. They're more, we are going to go for goal. And I think him dropping back really doesn't help that. We need someone who's going to try and break the line and try and get through that centre. Yeah,
and that's the issue, because I think when he does that Spurs, they play with a 10. So they have someone who can step up into that role. I know it wasn't for most of the season because of Mourinho, but you've got Dele Alli, who is someone who can step into that position, or you've got Lucas Moura, or you've got Son. There's always someone who will step in and kind of lead that line if he drops in deep. With us not playing a 10, the next closest player down the middle is Rice or Phillips, and neither one of those is gonna make that breaking run to take that place. And I think that's the problem when you've got someone dropping off as much as he does. That then you are either forcing one of your wingers to come inside a lot more than you'd want them to kind of fill that gap, and all of a sudden everyone's kind of moving around to fill a space, as opposed to players just switching positions. Now I know we are unlikely to go back to I think England playing with a proper number 10 who would take that place. But I'd love to see that. If I'm trying to think who I would prefer to see that from most. Out of those options, whether it be, I know Man City tried it with Sterling, who I think in terms of the movement, I think is probably the right guy for it. His finishing's not quite as good as I'd like it to be. Yeah. Out of those, probably Foden.
I'd love to see Foden play in that 10 role, just in behind Harry Kane. Ideally for me, I think in this game, I'd like, and I know it's going to be really harsh to drop one of them, but to drop either Rice or Phillips, and I'd like to see Bellingham come in, because I think he gives you a bit of the best of both worlds, where he can drop back, he can do that defending, but he's also really good at taking that ball forward, and he can interchange with whoever it is that plays in that attacking midfield role for us. I think Bellingham, and I mean, he's played a season in German football, and it's always nice to have someone who's played against most of this German squad week in, week out for a season. So, it always makes you feel like you've got a bit more of an edge on them.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, if Southgate wasn't going to make that change for Scotland and Czech Republic to only play one holding midfielder, I really can't see him making that change to play Germany.
No. So, on to the hard part, the predictions. Are England going to a quarter-final game versus Sweden, or will it be the Germans?
England win 3-0. After all that, why not? We're going to score more goals in this game than we've scored in the rest of the tournament so far.
I'm going to predict, and it's going to be awful to watch, I'm going to predict a 0-0 and England go through on penalties.
We're not beating the Germans on penalties. Fuck off.
No, we fucking are. We've broken the curse. We beat Colombia. We can beat
That
Germany.
doesn't count. It's Colombia. Should be going to penalties again. All right, look. I know the summer of 2018 was a magical time. I'm sure if I'd have been in the country, I'd have loved it. It was quite fun being in America and singing footballs coming home at 10 o'clock in the morning. But look, we are England. We should be drawing with fucking Colombia. We're better than that.
Hey, you leave it alone. Yerry Mina is a world-class attacking centre-back.
He's not. He plays for fucking Everton.
He doesn't play for Everton.
Why? Where is he now?
No, he's there, but he doesn't play.
Ah, Jesus, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were telling me he'd left then, and I completely missed it. It's always my big problem with England is obviously I want us to do well, and I've said before, I like Southgate. I think he gets the job, and I think he gets what it means to the fans. But he is a very conservative manager who will spring very few surprises on the opposition. And I'd love to see him be more daring. But this is a man with a relegation on his CV as well, so.
Almost forgot about that.
Yeah, he also couldn't get the England under-21s out of the group stages. But apart from that, I like you, Gareth.
Put your waistcoat back on.
The magic's in the waistcoat. The waistcoat made us all believe.
But on that note, we will be back after England's game against Germany next Tuesday to run down what will be the quarterfinals, and whether England are or aren't still in the tournament is yet to be seen. But
no, we'll be getting knocked out by Sweden in the next round.
No, because don't even joke about that, because I can see it happening. Oh, what a performance! We've beaten the Germans 3-0, 2-1 Sweden. Ibra with his rip-off tracksuit on the side.
Pontus Jansson with a winner.
Has he even gone?
I don't know.
Maybe. We'll see. So if you want to make sure that you check out any more of the Buzzers live streams, make sure you head on over to @WTBdotcom. That is Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, do whatever you do on the socials, and come join us. And make sure that you go check out Casey and Jack's podcast, Matty White's podcast, Leeds United based. They do live stream onto Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And then it is live audio version everywhere other than Acast, because fuck Acast.
Pontus Jansson is in the Sweden squad.
Yeah, fuck Acast.
Yeah, not you, Pontus. You're all right, but fuck Acast.
Yeah, but that'll do us for this episode of Stand Your Ground. Make sure you come check us out. I was going to say Wednesday, but we're probably playing five-a-side that day. So come check us out Thursday next week.
Come check us out one day.
One day after Tuesday. Where we'll be running down the quarterfinals and whether England are bringing football home or whether, we can all cry into us pillows until 2022.
It's only a year away.
Yeah, it's not much, but
it's really weird that the World Cup is in 18 months.
Yeah, but since 2018, we've had 2 semi-final heartbreaks. You kind of class the Nations League.
Yeah, I was really torn up about that one.
Yeah, fucking Netherlands dickheads. They didn't even fucking win it.
I know.
Twat bags. Anyway, on that note, I've been joined by KC.
Cheers, mate.
And we'll see you next week.